Remember Highway 35? Yeah, it's mediocre. But first, what is Highway 35? Well, it's to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Hot Wheels. But okay, what's the long version? According to the creator, Jeff Gomez, it was a mixture of both the product line and the real-life highway that connected from Maine to California. And who is Jeff Gomez? He's the CEO of Starlight Runners, who are currently the animators for those goldfish commercials you see on television. Using the Wayback Machine, you can find the remnants of Highway 35 being talked about on their website and what else they were working on at the time. According to an interview, he explained what he did before Highway 35, how he got in connection with Mattel, and behind-the-scenes stuff like the Hot Wheels Bible.
Amy Smith Boylan was my boss at Acclaim Entertainment, so she saw what I did with Turok, and then she left Acclaim and went to Mattel. And she was in charge of Hot Wheels, the Hot Wheels brand.
Oh, wow.
So when I started Starlight Runner Entertainment in 2000, it wasn't long before she started reading about some of my accomplishments in the press, and just called me, like cold call,
Wow.
and said, hey, can you do for Hot Wheels what you did for Turok and Magic the Gathering? We want a multi-platform approach.
I'll say this, there needs to be a Bible to a series to keep the story in check, but it sucks just how much Mattel held the series back. But we'll get back to that later. He also came back a year later to further explain more behind-the-scenes stuff about the 20th anniversary of the show. On a Reddit AMA where he answered various questions about the series, fun facts, and behind-the-scenes hell that was going on. What's this? Animators on a strict deadline, and in this case without a script? Man, some things never change. But anyways, this review isn't faced at Jeff. He had a vision, but Mattel wouldn't allow it to happen. And so, a lot of criticisms are going to be squarely on these people. Now, how I'm going to review this series is to go through the story in order and talk about the main characters as they're being introduced, with some exceptions. Obviously, I can't go over every character because either there's not a lot to say about them or they're literally background characters. Seriously, if there's one major issue I have with this series is how many characters there are, and yeah, this is one major thing I think the next series does better. I'm going to divide this review into 3 parts. The first on Highway 35, the second and third being on the first and second half of Acceleracers, along with one final bonus video after the review talking about information that came out in recent years and some fan theories that I either will try to see if I can agree with or disagree with. Side note, if you want to watch this series with me, I got a link in the description with both Highway 35 and Acceleracers in HD. So, on to the review. So we begin our story with a car trying to make it over a loop and failing to do so. Then, a mysterious character with a robot who will have no bearing in the series, keep that in mind, like this plot hole we see here. But we see this man trying to figure out why he can't get past the first obstacle, and the robot says,
"Maybe you should build a new kind of driver."
We then cut to Vert Wheeler, and his character in the series is your standard 16-year-old, a bit cocky and a douche at times.
We ought to get up a team, Vert. Surf or skateboards, either one. We could get sponsored.
Haven't you heard? I'm a team of one.
Though, how this character changes throughout the series, you need a bit of that. He is voiced by Andrew Francis, who is in Mobile Suit Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, Final Destination 3, and Alienators Evolution Continues, to name a few. I think his voice work is pretty good in this series, but I think he gets better in Acceleracers, which I'll further explain there. After him and his friend Alec are skateboarding, Vert gets back home so his dad can be there when he gets his driver's license. However, Vert's dad is on an upcoming mission, and the best he can do is drop his son off at the DMV. Unsurprisingly, Vert passes, and on his way back home, the car is already there. But for real, how did this man know who the best drivers were? There had to be a lot of research going into this, especially since a lot of these cars had to be shipped around the world and then shipped back to America. I know, it's a kid's series, but it's still funny to think about. Although I do like how each car is made around the specialty of every main character. Anyways, after recruiting everyone, we finally get this man's name, Peter Tesla. I'll get to him in a bit. Tesla explains that this is called the World Race, and whoever wins will be declared the fastest driver in the world and win $5 million. We get a scene showing off 4 of the 5 different vehicle types. There's the Wave Riffers, Scorchers, Road Beasts, and Dune Rats, and the one led by Kurt, Street Breed. I'm bringing this up because there will be an ass pull later in the series that'll never even get hinted at. This leads us into a driving montage, and while that's happening, let's explain who Dr. Tesla is. Voiced by Michael Donovan, who was in Dragon Ball, Ramna Half, Captain N, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Skyrim, to name a few, Tesla is more of a strict father in this series, only wanting things to go his way and making sure everybody stays focused.
No one enters Highway 35 unless I approve it. Those are the rules.
Yeah, but Doc, rules are made to be broken.
Not my rules.
I remember watching this when I was younger. I thought he was just a weird introvert, and while he kinda comes off like that, I wouldn't say he's malicious, at least in this series. Back to the montage, this line could have been delivered better.
This isn't a game, kid. You're a driver now.
Once we're introduced to what we're looking for, the first race begins.
Hey, Taro, you think this guy Tesla knows what he's talking about? Or is he just local?
It took a genius to build these cars, Banji.
He could be a genius and still be insane.
That's a fair point. Anyways, we start the first race in a lava realm. While everyone's driving around, let's get into one of the problems I have with this series. First, starting off with that there's way too many characters, especially when we get into the later realms. I know you can't get to everybody in the series, especially in an hour-and-a-half runtime, but here's the thing, the series constantly forgets that other races exist or just somehow gets them out of the realms. I know it's explained that the racing realms never really close in this series, and don't have a time limit, unlike Acceleracers, which I think works better for the stakes. We quickly learned about the kind of damage these cars can take, and a little bit later just how much punishment they can take. Then we reach a giant loop we saw in the beginning of the movie. And one thing I forgot to mention with Vert is that him being a skateboarder actually has relevance in this series.
What's the matter, Banji? Didn't you ever grind a half-pipe?
Banji goes for the loop first, but then fails. Then Taro and Kurt go for the jump, but then Kurt says,
We don't have enough speed for that jump.
Yeah, how would you know? There's not an easy way of seeing the other side, and it's not like the jump from what I can tell is that far. Side note, could somebody do the math to see how long this jump is? Here's the dimensions of the car. Anyways, Vert takes a gander at the pipe and uses his skateboarding skills to...
He's doing it to pick up speed. Nobody beats Kurt Wild.
But couldn't you just use night trucks to make this jump? I mean, you already need to go fast to make the jump, so couldn't you just take out the middleman, or loop, and make it that way? It's never really said that they're lower out of night trucks. Besides, this isn't even the largest jump in the series. Anyways, after the jump, Taro makes it to Vert, and I swear, Taro's voice actor, while not bad, does deliver some of these lines pretty okay-ish.
No skateboard tricks now, kid. Just driving.
Again, I would not say any of the voice acting is outright bad, it's just, it ranges from being pretty good to okay-ish, nothing outstanding. We then get this move from Vert, and I have to ask anybody who's a car guy, does this move actually work? Because I've never seen anybody ever use it. We cut back to Banji and Kadeem, who are having a bit of a back and forth with each other, and while that's happening, we get introduced to a new character, who I'll call the antagonist for the moment. They throw a nitrox canister to break some of the racetrack. A few people get past it and Vert glides over it, while we see Taro using his special ability to get past it and Lonnie gets stuck. Gotta say, wish there were cars this strong in the real world. It'd be fucking awesome to drive around. By the way, this is Lonnie. She's played by Venus Terzo, who was in Ramna 1/2, It, Captain N, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and a few others. She's thankfully not a Mary Sue in this series, though she does simp for Taro on the word go. Anyways, she's dead, and I don't care what you say. The only way I could see her getting out is to lower the window and jump from the door, but that's a leap in logic. It's even shown that the window is up. After Taro hears about the cry for help, he turns around while the other two drivers keep going, and Vert, at first, thinks Taro can handle the situation. But he doubles back on it. Taro reaches Lonnie and grapples the rock Lonnie is standing on, but it's a bit too much. Then Vert comes back, and the side he comes from confuses me a bit. I know some people will ask about the jump, but the jets on the car have been shown to do some pretty crazy things, so I'll let it slide. Anyways, both of them do the grapple technique, and Vert says,
Lonnie, grab the grappling line. On the count of 3, Taro and I will unhook our lines.
After Taro compliments Vert, we cut to Kurt, who reaches the end of the race. Kurt wins the race and impossibly gets hit by mud. With that said, this is Kurt Wilde, played by Brian Drummond, who was in Mobile Suit Gundam, Ramna Half, Sonic Underground, Dragon Ball Z, and Death Note, to name a few. I don't know how to feel about this character in this series. On the one hand, he's very cold and dickish, but on the other hand, he hesitates and kind of just becomes more of a nuisance than anything. There is a reason for this, but I argue that the character is a little inconsistent at times. As said, there are other drivers in the realm behind them, and I'm guessing they didn't make the jump or something since we don't see them. It is explained that this is only the beginning of the world race, and wait a minute, I just noticed the shadow above their lip. Yeah, I know it was probably a technical limitation of the time, but if I have to see it, you have to see it. But now that the first race is over, the winners are asked to lead a team, with Vert hesitating before agreeing. I gotta ask, what budget is Tesla getting? Yes, I know he explains he's part of the Scrim Corporation, but the amount of work that had to go into this has got to be insane, especially when we hit acceleracers, and it's implied that he would have extra cars because of these teams. But I also find it hilarious that it would be the exact models of the cars that were lost in the realms. Again, I get it, it's a kid's series, you don't need to explain everything, but it just feels like a Snoke problem. Tesla also says each team must have 6 people on it, but from my count it seems like there are 5 people per team, and even then that's kinda questionable. We see some of the characters get back into the realm with new teammates, however how do they get back into the realm and across the lava pit? As we see new people joining each group, we get introduced to Mark Wilde, who's voiced by Will Sanderson, who, if you recognize any of these movies, then golf clap. In this series, Mark is more of a nice guy, and wants to show off to his brother that he's just as good as him. Though, don't get me wrong, he does eventually show his ugly side. Kurt doesn't want him in the race, and it'll be explained later why, but Vert lets him join because he needs one more for the team. Jump forward towards later that day, we meet the villain of the series, Galorum, voiced by Kenneth Barr, who has been in a lot, but arguably her most famous role is probably one you didn't see coming. I'll give you a hint. Here are 8 shows from Cartoon Network that aired in the 2000s. I'll give you 5 seconds to pick one. If you chose Ed, Ed, and Eddie, then which character did she play? I'll give you 5 seconds. If you chose Kevin, then you'd be right. And my only question is, why isn't there fan art of this? Holy shit, this would be awesome. Yes, I know this series is not as widely known, but goddamn it would be awesome to have somebody make a piece of fan art. God, Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. But anyways, we find out the name of the antagonist, Z36, who is working for her to get the Wheel of Power, and neither him nor Tesla know if the wheel will be in the next race. The next day, the next race starts, with all these new characters and... Wait a second. What the fuck is this thing? Okay, I know it's Hot Wheels and they'll have some wacky-ass car designs, but seriously, what the fuck is this design? I see far more issues with this thing from a design and safety perspective, and while I'm not a car guy, this thing pisses me off in so many ways. Hell, it's even shown that the character has to duck down to see outside this thing. In fact, anybody who's a car guy really wants to roast this thing, here's the vehicle from multiple angles, so go at it. Then there's a reference to aliens, and, well, remember this scene for later. Ugh. Anyways, we hit the second realm, which looks like a mixture of a forest and cliff realm. Mark starts off the realm in a crash, and it's great to know that he isn't just great from the start. One interesting parallel I find between Mark and Vert is that they're both lone wolf types, but Mark does show it a lot more in the series. Kurt though, man, he's a dick, and again, there's a reason, but he just seems to be a bit too mean for what he's trying to do, and I'd argue it's a bit inconsistent. After Kurt and Banji get into a crash, Kurt drives away, but Banji sees a shortcut, and he and his team take it. With Vert's team right behind, 2 of his teammates take the alternative route, and Vert follows behind, leaving his friend. And for some reason during the race, a crash happens, which allows Kadeem and Taro to get into first place, with Taro managing to scrape by. Then we are reintroduced to Z36, who's just chilling on the side and sees a bridge. They ready their weapon and hit one side of the bridge.
It didn't fall?
Just hit the other side, it's not like you're getting charged by the laser. Yes, it's kinda blocked off, but you could still see it. The road beasts make it through, but when Vert's team gets to the bridge, it gives from the weight, with Vert getting saved by his rocket boosters. Now we get one of the few track hazards in the form of this thing. And then we cut back to Taro and Kadeem continuing the fight for first place. Lonnie figures out the timing of this thing, and has everybody going it one at a time.
The computer gives you a green light, and 5 seconds later you hit the ramp at 163 miles per hour.
Cut back to 36 is watching them jump this thing from afar, only to stop at the last minute when it's Mark's turn, and Mark misses the mark, and physics caused this to happen. Somehow. This causes the last 2 drivers to wing it, and they barely make it, and dude, get out of the way. We then cut back to the main track where Taro and Kadeem are trying to fight for first place. However, Alex shows up and he tries to see if he can get a gander at first place, but they don't allow that. And as they're both reaching the portal, they both try outmaneuvering each other, but instead they end up tying.
Here's Mr. Shortcut. You here to apologize for putting us all in last place?
Hey, chill out, Marky. Nobody made us follow the road beasts.
Yeah, I agree with Vert here. You guys took that shortcut after Vert said that they should stay on the main path, so it's your fault. However, a bit later, we cut back to 36, meeting Galorum saying that they don't want to sabotage racers to win. But Galorum says that 36 needs to be kept in check, or they'll have a problem. Then we cut to Tesla, who says that this might be the last stretch of the race. And afterwards, we see people working on the cars, and...
Lonnie? What are you doing?
Just checking out my car.
You need some help?
No. Why is that surf rat prowling around?
Why do you care? And where are you? Then we see Kadeem talking to someone.
With the prize money, I can...
I see danger waiting for you on the road you travel.
The next day, the third race starts, this time in a desert realm. They hit an immediate problem and the drivers have to figure out how to get through the sand. Which I have to ask. Spikes coming out of the tire withstanding, is this realistic or just cartoon logic? While Vert's team uses the jets to glide through the sand and, well, I guess the rest are just fucked. Besides Kurt, who latches onto someone. Eventually, Kadeem gets back on the track and his teammates drive up the dinosaur and... this happens.
Too short! Did you make it, Juvo?
I get how he fell, but the other not so much. It kind of looked like you were on the rock from this angle. And it doesn't even look that steep. But that's the lesser annoyance. After Kadeem makes the jump and we see 36 return, we get this.
Whoever it is, he's ahead of us.
Is this the first thing you guys should worry about? I'm gonna say it again. Because of how many characters there are in this series, I get it would be impossible to have everyone in the spotlight. But how do these people get out? At least in the next series, there's a way that's explained, but here we get absolutely nothing. Cut back to Kadeem. He sees this thing and, oh boy, I have some things to say about this thing, but we'll get to that in a bit. After Kadeem attaches it to the back of his car with our antagonist falling behind, we get this. Those are some good tires, I have to say. This thing gets knocked off and goes flying across the track with Vert somehow in first place despite these guys. While it's never shown who made the jump, does that imply no one here made the jump? Taro says this.
Hey, Taro, you think that's the wheel they're chasing?
I think they're fools.
Okay then, and Vert says this.
Taro and Banji aren't going after it. That's not the wheel.
Again, how would you know? And besides, at least Alex has seen that car before. So why not at least try to help Kadeem? The wheel finally stops, and after a fight, it is revealed that Kurt was Z36. So do you remember when I was talking about a few scenes to keep in mind from earlier? Well, it's time to point out some massive issues, and where do we begin? If Tesla could see the drivers from the inside with the dash cam, then how could he not see Kurt's transformation? It's made clear that Tesla can't talk to the drivers even after getting the wheel, so there's no obnoxious plot hole there. But we do see that Tesla can at least get video feed, which doesn't even make sense. The only way I can think about how this works is that Kurt was able to loop previous footage, but even then that still has its own myriad of problems. But then that gets into the other Street Breed team members. You'd think they would start questioning why they couldn't get in contact with their leader. Or, hell, in one shot it's shown that the drivers can see the positions of others in the race. Even if the car has a cloaking device on it, you'd think the teams would notice something was off. I'm curious how Galorum got in touch with Kurt, and since it's shown that both the car and the suit are able to change, did she have an identical car or is it something that's attached to it? My best guess is that since it's basic cloaking, it's just something that's attached to the car. But then you have the suit which completely changes the design and masks your voice. So what's happening here? My other question is, what is this thing? No, seriously, it's never explained what it is. It doesn't do anything to benefit the car it's attached to. It straight up disappears when Kadeem leaves the realm, and to me, it just feels like a way for the writers to show off the twist that 36 was Kurt all along. But anyways, Taro and Banji are fighting for first place, and once they finish the race, they find out that there's still more to go. I won't lie, that's actually a pretty cool shot. And with all that being said and done, the third round ends. Vert and Kadeem talk, and we learn that Kadeem wants the money to help his people back in Africa. We return to Kurt, who was captured by Galorum, but it said that Kadeem told Tesla about Kurt, and last we saw him, he was at the bottom of the pyramid. So does the car automatically come to him? because I doubt he climbed that, and even if he ran, it seems way too easy. Then we see Kadeem talking to his head chief, and he tries to reassure him for the future. The next day, we're on to the 4th race. Glorum talks to Kurt and sends in 2 drones with him, and he starts the race early with everyone following. One character doesn't make it, and a part of me laughs if Kurt took the nitrox for himself. But that's a theory.
Okay!
Shut the fuck up! We hit the ice realm, and the drones deploy blockades like spikes and explosives to block the track. Mark gets in front of everyone while everyone else clears the ice. Kurt and the drones continue to get ahead, and the drones set up the next trap, and Kurt wants them to block the track, but the drones don't care. Mark hits the bombs after ignoring his brother, which causes both the roads to be blocked and Mark to be sent careening. But he catches his fall and knocks himself out instead. Kurt is concerned for his brother's safety and doubles back to save him. I like how this is a callback to the first race with Lonnie and Taro. We cut back to the group removing the rest of the ice, and when Mark doesn't respond, they think he's in trouble. The group makes it to the crater and they go a bit off-roading. Then we're introduced to this thing, which acts like a GPS. It is explained in the show that this is the special feature of a street breed car, but I find it weird that this was the only group that doesn't get an introduction. It's not even hinted at earlier in the series, so it just feels kind of like an ass pull. Speaking of street breed, who's the new leader? Back to Kurt, who has the drones on him to finish the race. Kurt gets back in his car and breaks one of the drone's vehicles. It is explained why the drones can't get the wheel.
The Accelerons built this track for human beings. That is why you must get the Wheel of Power.
Though this will get contradicted in the next series. Anyways, Mark regains consciousness and saves his brother. And Mark doesn't take getting saved as a compliment. They both get in a one-on-one duel, which results in Mark crashing again, and the racers get back on the track with Kurt. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier that when Mark destroys one of the drone's vehicles, the other one just straight up disappears. So you ever wonder what happened to that other one? Well, here he is. And after another explosion, the drone's method of non-lethal approach looks goofy as hell, but they manage to destroy the other one, and Kurt and Vert are on a back and forth. After a move done by Vert, Kurt tries his own moves, but instead, this happens.
Nice shot. Slingshot.
Eventually, after the long drive across the ocean, we reach our final destination, Acceleron City, and we see the Wheel of Power. Cut back to the other drone, who is now in berserk mode and tries to stop anyone from getting the wheel. It seems that Kurt has been driving for a while since it looks like the sun has gone down. But the drone catches up to him, and after an epic chase, Kurt gets to him in under 30 seconds and holy shit! Does that explode any car within the range, or is it just because he's a drone? Because if that was a human, you need some explaining to do, Vert. Everyone gets teleported back to Highway 35, and the Wave Rippers each win $5 million, and Tesla's robot, Gig, tells everyone that they can keep their car. But since they got the wheel, the portal is now closed, and Vert tries to confront Tesla about it, but nobody can get into his lab. Taro finds his own solution to getting in, and when confronted about Highway 35, Tesla says,
Why?
We're drivers.
Kurt is on the run and runs into Glorum, who says that since the wheel is free, it's up for grabs to anyone, and sends an army. Tesla talks about the wheel and what it does, but it spirals out of control, which kills Gig. And can I just say, Gig is a nothing character in this series. Seriously, this is the amount of screen time he has, and this is the amount of lines he has as well. And outside of 1.5 things, you could entirely take him out of the story and nothing would change. It's comical how little he actually contributes to this series. This gets Tesla to realize that maybe the wheel is too powerful for him, and after restoring power, Glorum's army is waiting outside. She says they only have 3 minutes to hand the wheel or get destroyed. How much I believe her on that is up to anyone's guess, but we get this quote.
There was something in the ancient inscriptions. Wisdom is a circle. What you receive, you must give back.
Everyone comes together in retaliation, which, don't you have bombs and shit? Blow them up. I doubt that the wheel would break that easily. But after Taro suggests some driving maneuvers, they get Glorum to crash, and they get back into the realm. But it turns out that Glorum survived the crash, and now it's shown why. She gets a special car that'll create an annoyance later, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So now we're back in the city.
They don't give up, do they?
Yeah, what did you think? Oh, so now you're using bombs.
That was easy.
Some people just can't drive in traffic.
Vert's car is about to get grabbed, but at the last second, Kurt saves him. How did you know exactly where Vert was? And it was lucky it was so close to the portal. Glorum gets in the realm and that happens. Alright then. And Kadeem destroys another through an easy method. Glorum uses her special car to break the track, and Kurt doesn't make it, which results in...
Let's see how well you drive in half a car.
I mean, why not just cut the track in half again? Then Kurt crashes into her. Some good luck you got there, Kurt, and man, it looks funny. And Vert returns the wheel, which causes the city to turn back on, and Galorum's army retreats.
It's hot! Hot Wheel City!
And Vert gives Kadim the money to help his cause. Jumping back into the real world, we meet Vert's dad, who got Gig working again, but grounds Vert for a month. Though he asks for a spin in his car and accidentally hits the nitrox button. We end on the two characters getting back into the realm, and Smash Mouth. Can you tell this was made in the early 2000s? So, that was Highway 35, and again, I have to say it's just mediocre. Don't get me wrong, it has some fun parts, and with the limited time they had, it's impressive to see this thing actually made it anywhere. But the final product leaves a lot to be desired. And honestly, on some level, there is more that can be criticized or nitpicked about this series, but I won't be too cynical. But as it stands, I could take it or leave it for what it is. I know you had a vision, Jeff, but if Mattel ever gave you a second chance... doubt it, but if they did, I hope they give you more creative freedom for your vision to come alive. Anyways, that will do it for now. See you next time when I review Acceleracers, and man, do I have a lot to say about that series.